row, or you can start out losing 10 bets in a row. It's just the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of sports betting and the variance in the games. Okay, I say this all the time. You should never, if you're a consistent sports bettor and you bet throughout the whole season, not just one trip to Vegas, okay, you can, that's different. If you're a consistent sports bettor, you're going to bet every week during a season, you have to have proper bankroll management. And the way I do it, and the way most successful sports bettors do it, is that you only bet 1% of your whole bankroll for your lowest one-star bet. Okay? So if you start with $100, your bet should be $1 for one-star bet for your lowest faith in a bet. If you start with $1,000, then your one-star bet should be $10. If you start with $10,000, it's $100. If you start with $100,000, it should be $1,000. If you start with $1 million, your one-star bet is $10,000. All right. So I know they sound small, but you got to understand this is a long-term investment. When you're doing it all year, you don't want to be a loser, and you're playing for recreation here. You're enjoying yourself. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to feel bad, or put yourself in a financial situation which can be very detrimental. Another thing is, don't worry about people that brag about their bet sizes. If $20 is what you're betting because that's what your 2 or 3 units is, just tell people you're betting 2 or 3 units. If it's $2,000, just the same. It doesn't matter. You don't have to tell people. Just say, I'm betting a couple units on a game, right? It's none of the business. The people that are usually bragging about their bet size are usually the people that are losing. It's great to talk about sports bets. It's great to talk about your confidence. From a 1 unit to a 5 unit means a 1-star to a 5-star. You should never bet more than 5% of your bankroll on any bet for your most confident bet. If you found out that Tom Brady has the flu, okay, and he's playing, and the Patriots are favored against the Giants, or let's just not even say the Giants. Let's say they're playing the Seahawks, right? It doesn't matter. You don't bet more than 5%. If you don't think the line's moved, you're the first person to find out about it. 5% should be your max bet because, like I said before, there is a lot of variance in this game. Use the star system. Another thing, only use discretionary income. Don't use anything that you need for the future. Something that you can save up for. If you're saving for a car, don't use it. Just use complete spending money to do this, or save up to do it. So I just want to make sure that you don't make a lot of the same mistakes that build these giant casinos and then make people really upset when they're leaving Las Vegas and leaving, a sports betting complex. Next, you should know your key numbers. Key numbers are the most important thing in the world. In the NFL, the key numbers in order are 3, 7, 10, 6, 14, and 4. All right? In that order. The 3, according to an article I read and I posted as reference on the article at thebettingbuck.com, 3 comes up 18% of the time. I've seen a sample size where it came up 15% of the time, but since 2003 to 2015, 3 came up 8% of the time, meaning a team won by 3 points. Okay? That's huge. All right? That's why it's most expensive to buy off of 3. It costs 25 cents per dollar at most sports books to buy on or off of 3. Okay? Buying on or off of 12 only costs 10 cents, but that doesn't mean it's worth it to do that. You have to know your expected values within the numbers on each game. So I put a chart out on this article, and I'm also going to be posting this article on the oddsbreakers.com next week. But there's a chart on there that shows your expected values, for each number. Okay. So, for example, and I'll just go over a couple of them. If the spread is 0, there's a 50% chance on these implied winning percentages. They're implied because that's Vegas's number. The spread's 0, that a team's going to win on one side, or 50% chance a team's going to win on the other. If it's a 0.5 spread, I mean they're favored by 0.5 points, that team has a 50.63% chance to win. If it's -1, it's 51.25. If it's -1.5, it's 52.5. If it's -2, it's 53.46% chance to win. If it's -2.5, it's a 54.48% chance to win. Notice now these are just going up by around 1.25. And then if it's a -3, it goes from 54.48% chance to win to 59.37% chance. You see the difference in the number there? The implied winning percentage is much different, and that's how you have to value that, okay? That's how you get your expected values, is the difference from number to number. The change in expected value is much greater at the key numbers than it is off of the key numbers, okay? Remember when we said you have to be over 52.38% of your bets to be profitable? Well, that means you need an at least 52.38% expected value. If Vegas's number is -5 on the game and your number is also -5, then your expected value is 50%. There's no deviation from number to number. Okay? You have to be over 52.38. If you go from a -11 to a -10, if Vegas's number is -11 and yours is 10, you're not going to bet the dog because you only moved 1.32 percentage points, making it 51.32 expected value. That's lower. You're not going to make that bet. But from a -2.5 to a -3, your number is almost 5% difference. Okay? So in that case, you're going to make the bet being that your expected or value is 54.89%. Okay? So that little half point and change makes it worth it to make that bet. If Vegas's number is -11 and your number is -13.5, that's 2.5 points. You look at it, the difference from this chart, or you can calculate it in your head or however you want to do it. You actually get a 2.8% difference, making it 52.84 to be exact. And that is over the threshold of 52.38. So the number from -11 to -13.5 is just enough to make that play. If you want to make that play, it's not a huge difference. You know, you're barely over 52.38, but you also have to look at the other things in their circumstances. You know, when you look at the lines, you wonder if Vegas factored in the injuries you thought of. You wonder if they factored in the spot that they're on short rest. You wonder if they factored in they have a look ahead to their rival. You know, these are the other important things that handicappers put in, and it takes a lot of time. You have to look at the schedules even before the season. Look for some of these spots. You want to have a system, and most people use power ratings. But to develop power ratings, you have to spend hours updating it daily, especially on Sundays during football season for college football and Monday mornings for NFL. It takes hours and hours, so I would just suggest finding a good public one online if you don't have the time. Maybe you can use a blended one. But, you know, if you're not going to put in the time, trust maybe some of the ones that are popular and reputable. Team Rankings is one of them. Jeff Sagram's one of them. Bill Connolly's S&P is one of them. ESPN's FPI. That way you can try to trust them, but you don't have to necessarily agree with them. You can kind of, and that's how you just don't agree with the line. If ESPN's FPI was a sports book, you'd still be betting against some of their numbers. So at least use theirs as a basis. unless you want to make your power rankings yourself, which is a whole nother animal. Everyone's got their own secret sauce to make them. I do myself. It's you can take points and assign them to the offensive line, the defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary, the coaching, the special teams, the quarterback play. You can assign points like that and try to get the difference exactly in how many points a team is different from the others. That takes a lot of time to do that. Or you can, like I said, go buy a public power ranking and just do it like that. But, power rankings are something that I've been doing since 2010. And it took me a while to get it correct. I'll tell you that. But I always compare my power ratings to other people's power ratings as well as the public ones because, well, that's what we do. We want to find out where we were wrong and what we're missed. Nobody is perfect here, and neither are the sports books. You also got to look at these injuries. If one offensive lineman's out, it's not going to necessarily affect the line. If 3 offensive linemen are out, it will affect the line maybe a few points. If a quarterback's out, you have to look at his backup. Deshaun Watson was worth almost 11 points last year. And, when it comes to other quarterbacks, like Case Keenum, he wasn't worth that much to the line when he went out. And so you got to factor each one in, but quarterbacks are definitely the most valuable when it comes to adjusting for lines and power ratings. Lastly, well, I suppose this ain't last in this subject, algorithms are also used, but the problem with algorithm is it doesn't really factor in strength of schedule. It goes by just straight up numbers. You have to make some of those adjustments in your head yourself, and it doesn't factor in actual matchups. So people like to use algorithms. I love them for basketball more than football. I like to use them at betting totals. I have an algorithm for football and for NFL. I have one for college football, and I have one for college basketball that I use. But power ratings are probably kind of like your first go-to thing, as well as when it comes to trying to predict where the line's going to come out. Don't get sucked into bad plays with stupid plays with bad expected values. Parlays, they're fun, but you should just use your personal different account of throwaway money on them. Because unless there's something really correlated in your parlays and you're allowed to bet them, a lot of times Vegas won't let you parlay the same team twice, meaning you can't bet the over of this game with the spread. Some books do that, some don't. But let me give you an example why parlays are bad bets. If a parlay, let's just say Vegas is right on each spread, or they're close. 50% is what they shoot for. So a parlay of 3 games, that's like picking a coin flip 3 times. 50% times 50% times 50%. Well, you know what that equals? That means you're only going to be right 12.5% of the time. All right? 12.5%. The chances of flipping a coin 3 times in a row and getting your heads or tails, whatever you call, every single time in a row is 12.5%. I know it sounds crazy, but that's really the chances. Now, to figure out what your payout would be. Basically, you take 1 over 0.125, meaning 12.5%, that equals 8. So basically, your parlays, if there's no juice, should be paying at 8-1 on a 3-game parlay. Being that Vegas pays 6-1, or sportsbooks, on a 3-game parlay, you divide 8 by over 6, and you get 1.33. That means you're paying 33 cents of juice on parlays. That's over your minus 110. That's minus 133, essentially. So, like I said, Vegas rakes in money in many different ways. Parlays are certainly one of them. Don't get me wrong, they're fun. I like to do it from time to time. If I think I'm really right on some limes, maybe it'll